Hitchcock, the famed father of suspense, is often credited with making the most iconic films of mystery ever created. Yet one common thread runs through so many of his films: women in danger. Nearly every single one of his films involves the endangerment of a beautiful and oftentimes helpless female character in the fight for her life, dignity, independence, or loved ones. Many critics assume this characteristic of Hitchcock films is because of the director's misogynist ideals. Yet I theorize that Hitchcock utilizes female characters as tools of suspense to heighten the sense of fear and anxiety within his films. And while misogyny is often present in his films, the primary objective of Hitchcock is to use creative cinematography, narrative, and mise en scène to develop feelings of apprehension and sympathy for female characters within his audience. Take, for example, these moments in Hitchcock's 1929 film, Blackmail. The character of Alice, as shown on screen, is in the fight for her life when the male artist, also shown on screen, forces physical contact and attacks Alice. According to scholar Tanya Molesky, the film works to reduce Alice to a mere object between her attempted rapist and her detective boyfriend, later seen in the film. Molesky theorizes that the film functions to punish Alice for her sexuality and for even accepting the invitation to visit the artist's apartment in the first place.
There it is.
However, take a look at the film's pinnacle scene of suspense. If Hitchcock wanted to only depict women as sexual objects, this moment would not use stylistic choices in such a way to frame the moment of intense violence against Alice. We may only see Alice's hand, but we can infer from how this scene is framed the horror that is occurring behind the curtain. Therefore, the emotion that arises in Hitchcock's audience is not disgust for Alice, but disgust for her rapist and his behavior. When Alice is coming to terms with what had just happened to her, the audience is meant to feel anxiety and sympathy for her and suspense as to what will happen next. Take a look. The lack of music or other noise, the way in which Alice is framed on screen, and the movements of Alice holding the knife incite feelings of fear in the audience. For Hitchcock, this is just one of the early blueprints of using female characters to create moments of intense suspense and fear. The way in which female characters are framed changes only slightly in Hitchcock's 1940 film Rebecca. Audiences find two female characters, Rebecca and Rebecca's husband's new wife, Mrs. De Winter, at odds in terms of identity and representation on screen. Much of the suspense that comes from the film originates from the character Rebecca, who never once appears on screen. She is depicted as beautiful, mysterious, manipulative, and seductive. On the other hand, we have the second Mrs. De Winter, who appears delicate, feminine, naive, and harmless on screen. In this scene where the second Mrs. De Winter explores Rebecca's bedroom, the combination of music and mise en scène fill this scene with apprehension. The audience is known to be wary of the character of Rebecca, and when we see the delicate character of the second Mrs. De Winter walk through the expansive bedroom, we feel anxiety for her character and recognize her feelings of never truly belonging within her new life. We fear the character of Rebecca because she is framed to be controlling and manipulative, and fear for the character of Mrs. De Winter because we feel as though she needs protection. The primary objective of Hitchcock in his films is to use female characters to further the intended feelings of his narratives. Hitchcock is a master of manipulation. His use of narrative, cinematography, and mise en scène in his films is meant to draw out certain feelings from his audiences, whether it be fear or anxiety or enjoyment or titillation. His use of women on film, while deeply embedded in his perceived views on gender equality, is just another method to connect with viewers. We feel sympathy for the women as they navigate a patriarchal society and fear for them as they arrive in situations of danger. Hitchcock, as I suggest throughout this essay, uses females to elicit feelings from his audiences. For Hitchcock, the mystery of his film is the only thing that matters.